Hello. It's sad boy hours. Teachers, what's the darkest thing you've seen from a student? Our school had a selective mute kid that graduated last year. Kids were calling him Fish Boy. It turns out he was buying fish and killing them in various ways on Instagram based on people's requests in the comments. What the fuck? He needs help. The Instagram requesters also do. Agreed. The one is sadistic and the others are, well, sadistic. Instantly. This might be a future serial killer. I don't know if there is any research to back this up, but it seems like the people who are obsessed with killing animals are the ones who end up as serial killers or threaten to shoot up schools and stuff like that. Where I went to high school was in a rural area and many of my classmates were hunters. There was one kid 3 years behind me and he hunted, but he was obsessed with hunting to a weirdly extreme level, posting pictures of the animals he killed and his guns every day on Instagram. He ended up threatening to shoot up the school one day and he never came back. Trust me, there's a confirmed major correlation that those who harm animals for the sake of harming them are at a high risk of becoming a violent person in general. There are 3 things that a lot of serial killers have in common. Almost all of them have exhibited 2 of the 3 following: animal cruelty, bedwetting at an advanced age, arson. Many of them have had all 3. In elementary school we had a kid with a severe peanut allergy and a teacher caught some kids rubbing peanut butter on the opening of his water bottle. We also had a kid who could describe in detail about how to prepare heroin. For some reason the peanut butter story bothered me more than the little heroin chemist. Intentional harm, knowing it would seriously harm / kill the kid, versus a kid who possibly had too much time on their hands and free roam access to Google. My wife works in a low-income area. One of her students said, "I don't need to read because I can just steal copper like my daddy." It's truly sad. Kid seemed down and I asked him to please tell me what was wrong. Not today, but when you're ready. I was his last class of the day and he promised he would. End of the year comes, and he told me his brother killed himself. He said he thought about the same many times but always remembered that he had made me a promise. I made him promise to call me if he ever thought he might again, and he promised me again. He's doing amazingly well and is about to graduate from college. Doing amazing work. Recently lost a best friend to mental illness and makes a world of difference having someone like you in their social network. I'm a teacher. A student saw one of my former co-teachers at some point with his wife and thought she was hot. And my co-teacher took advantage of this to get the student to secretly record his sister taking showers and shit. He offered videos of his wife performing sexual acts on with him to the student in exchange. He finally got caught when the student blackmailed the teacher into trying to get the wife to fuck him. And when he proposed it to his wife, she called the cops. Imagine being so far gone that you ask your wife, "Hey, wanna sleep with this kid?" I've been sending him videos of us in return for pics of his sister, and expecting it to go somewhat okay. Being a manipulative fuck, I am assuming he tried implanting the idea without success, escalating to the point where he said, "Fuck this kid or my life is over. I feel so sorry for her." Imagine finding out your partner was peddling porn of you to a minor in exchange for the same. Yikes. I taught welding and metal sculpture at the high school level for a year. One morning, one of my students, a quiet, awkward, but really nice young man, came into class and asked me for a band-aid. I asked him what for and he replied that it was for a burn. Class hadn't started yet for the day. He showed me and it was a fresh 2nd-degree burn that was already blistering. It was in the shape of an A. Some kids, if I'm going to be honest, they were bottom performers and troublemakers, from a different class of mine, had swiped a small metal letter A from one of my supply bins, heated it with a lighter, and then branded this kid on the morning school bus. He had let the kids do it because he really wanted to fit in. He didn't have many friends and these kids had seemed cool because they were always acting out. As a mandatory reporter, I reported it. The police got involved. Other than that, I have no idea what else happened. That gave me cold shivers. Why are people, and especially kids, it seems like, so prone to Lord of the Flies type stuff so easily? Still developing frontal lobe to a degree. Until roughly age 24, a person is literally at a reduced ability to reason, empathize, among other things, because the frontal lobe is still developing. It's partially why young men make better soldiers. There was kid in my wife's class that squeezed the classroom hamster to death. I had a kid who really wanted his parents to come to his graduation ceremony, but they were both sex offenders and couldn't be on campus. He just wanted someone there to support him, not to defend sex offenders. But sometimes the law is written in such a way that not all sex offenders are actual creeps. My case, when we were 22, a good friend of mine ended up becoming a sex offender. His crime? Getting drunk at a beach bar in Panama City Beach, Florida, stumbling out of the surf at 2 AM, and taking a whiz in the ocean. His genitalia was exposed in public, and an overzealous judge dropped the hammer on him. Worst part is that he truly is a decent dude, and now that's going to follow him for quite some time. It's so shitty that guys like your friend, or a guy who was 18 and had sex with his 17-year-old GF are considered sex offenders and put in the same category as legit child rapers and kiddie porn makers. People just see sex offender and immediately think the worst. Unfortunately for those people, there aren't many willing to step up and change the system because no politician wants to be seen as defending sex offenders. Girl was going through a lot, unprompted, and told me that her older brother died in Iraq recently and that was why she was having such a rough time. I tell all her teachers so they know it's thing to be aware of. I'm super nice with her and supportive. Eventually I tell the counselor and he calls home to ask if the family needs anything. Turns out she has never had a brother. Edit. For your information, she was 11 years old. My sister did that too around the same age. Told kids at school our dad was not her real dad but that her real father died in Vietnam. I don't think my dad ever got over that one. It was just a precursor of more lies to come. It is like a weird junior take on stolen valor. I have also known children who sold others on losing a loved one in the line of some kind of duty. I think for different reasons and to different degrees. I guess it's a thing. Strange. I had a third grader tell me in excruciating detail about every time that he's been removed from a home. Starting with how he was taken from his mother at 2 because they found drugs in his crib. Imagine the toughest, baddest little dude you can and multiply the attitude by 100. He wrote me a note at the end of the year saying that I was a great teacher because he knew I loved him even when he was bad. It has been and will always be the best note I ever get from a student. In that same class, I had a little boy try to cut his wrists with scissors saying that he didn't want to be here anymore. Cops came to interview him and said they were just kid scissors, so it wasn't a big deal. Thankfully, mom took it seriously and got him the help he needed. Those cops are dumb. The intent should be what matters, not the weapon. I am an English teacher and I am the sponsor of the school's comic book and anime club. This year, I managed to take my club to a convention, and many of them had several firsts, such as meeting celebrities, LARPing, participating in panels, speaking to professional artists, and just being with a larger fandom community. Upon our return, one of my members, a 16-year-old girl, asked to speak to me privately. She proceeded to tell me that she had been molested by her father and uncle ever since she was 12. On her 16th birthday, she finally had enough of the abuse and she contacted the police and told them everything. Before the investigation could begin, her uncle committed suicide out of shame. Her father was about to do the same, but she was able to convince him not to do it. He is now facing trial for his crimes. She then thanked me and said that the 2 days we spent at the convention were the happiest days of her life, and it allowed her to feel like a child for the first time in 4 years. It was the proudest moment of my career. As for the subject of my post, please know that her counselors and I are closely monitoring her as the wheels of justice slowly turn. As long as she's my student, I'll do everything in my power to keep her safe, and maintaining the supportive environment of the comic book and anime club for her to socialize and thrive within and enjoy her high school experience is the best way I can help her now. A list simply entitled "The List" with a few students' names and my co-teacher's name on it was a student with some serious behavioral disabilities on it who admitted it was a kill list. I had a student casually tell me about how he pulled the eyes out of his rabbit's head. He explained how there was blood everywhere. This was my first day working as a supply teacher at that school, and my first conversation with the student. I later brought it up to support staff and they were shocked he mentioned it to me. Apparently he killed his rabbit because his mom loved it more than she loved him. The boy was now in foster care, as his mother was a drug addict. He shared a lot of really dark stuff with me that day. Another one, more sad than dark, was at a different school. Students had to write their address for an assignment, but this 4th grade girl didn't know hers. Another student asked me, do you know where the so and so motel is? She lives there. Really broke my heart, as this girl was so young and innocent, and didn't really understand how unfortunate her living situation was. She proudly googled the motel and found her address. Really low income part of town. A former student of mine was always the quiet one in class. Taught them for 4 years and I spent a large amount of time trying to get them to open up and contribute to class as their written work was exceptional. 7 years after graduation they emailed to apologize for being quiet and that they didn't want me to think they were stuck up. They were being frequently raped by a family member the whole time and were too afraid to speak out. Absolutely broke me. That's so messed up. I hope both the kid and you are doing better now. Thank you. They're in a much better place now. Safe, moving on and healing.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. If it made you feel anything in your cold dead hearts, remember to hit that thumbs up. Remember to subscribe if you want to see a few more videos like this every week, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.